Thank you so much for joining me for Season 3 of On the Road With. My name's Gareth and I'm your host, and this show is dedicated to talking to touring professionals from the entertainment and performing arts industries. We cover all sorts of topics such as the mental health side of being on the road, how they got started, and the realities behind being on the road and touring for a living. Don't forget you can catch up on Seasons 1 and 2 of the show wherever you get your podcast fix, and all episodes are also available on my YouTube channel, Gareth John Music, which is also my handle for all social media accounts. You can also listen to all the commercially available music from Seasons 1, 2 and 3 of the show on the On the Road With Featured Songs playlist on Spotify. Now, my guest today is no stranger to touring. He's done it for 22 years and has become a really well-established solo artist in that time, predominantly in the blues genre, although his music's got hints of Americana and soul in there as well. Really, really talented singer-songwriter. Who's really made a name for himself, especially across the continent, and it was a pleasure to talk to Mr. Aynsley Lister. Aynsley's currently working on his next record, so we started off by talking about how it's important to push yourself from album to album and try new things.
I just wanted to try something new, because every time you make an album, I think you want to try something different, go, work with different people and just push yourself a bit. And sometimes when you step outside your comfort zone, you can surprise yourself. And it's quite a scary thing. It's easy to play it safe, but nobody wants you to play it safe when they listen to your records. They want you to push the boundaries and stuff. So for this one, it was working with basically people I've never worked with before. So.
Yeah, and I think also the thing with pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is you'll make a different record each time as well. There's not much point. If you look at any of the great artists or bands, they've never just made the same type of record again and again. They've constantly reinvented themselves. I think that's quite important for your own sort of creative sanity as well, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. And I think from, people that, have kept me my fans, supporters, or whatever you want to call them. The guys that have kept me on the road and doing this, for the last 22 years actually.
Is it really? Bloody hell.
Yeah, it's quite scary when I think about it like that. But they certainly want a common thread. There's certainly something that there has to be a continuation, that I can't just completely reinvent myself from album to album. So there has to be an identity that I keep on each album. But I always try a few new things and take a few risks, and just keep it varied for the audience and for myself, really.
What would you say that common thread is? Is it? I mean, I know with some artists it's kind of it's lyrical. With some people it's you even down to chord progressions. But I've noticed when I listen to your stuff, it's not your typical kind of. Me and Andy Price, your keyboard player and good friend of mine, we've talked about this a number of times. Is that it's not your typical bluesy stuff. I don't think I've listened to a fair few of your tunes, and I don't think I've ever heard a harmonica on one. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I mean the thing is, when I started out, the first thing that made me pick up the guitar when I was 8 was my dad's record collection, and that was predominantly blues and R&B. R&B is in the traditional 60s rhythm and blues, not the R&B that,
not the contemporary sense. Yeah.
And so that's what made me play the guitar. It was mainly the blues, and it was all guitar solos. That's what my dad always loved listening to, a great guitar solo. So that's what I started out doing, and it wasn't until at least 10 years later when I started writing and singing that as a guitarist I've got a real foundation in the blues, but as a songwriter and as an artist, it goes way beyond that. So I suppose my identity as an artist, there's so many genres that I touch, a bit of Americana, some of it's rock, some of it's even a bit country,
some
bluesy.
Soul in there as well.
There's a bit of everything, and I've never, although I love the blues and that's what I grew up listening to, I never wanted to try and recreate or just do the 12-bar blues thing, which is, that's still equally valid, but it's been done, and it's been done so well that to try and just redo it as a slightly watered down version, there's no point, because it's already been done. So my thing is to just take elements of that and mix it in with probably a more contemporary sound that's probably appeals to a wider audience than just blues fans. But blues fans seem to, really like my stuff because it has got that kind of bluesy guitar playing in it, and It's a bit of a melting pot, really. Hard to describe.
Yeah. I mean, they've taken the blues community. I don't know it very well, but they seem to have really taken you to their hearts, really. And I mean, you put it perfectly earlier in the conversation, as you said, the people who've allowed me to keep doing this for 22 years.
Yeah, I mean, do you know, I've got some of the loveliest, loyalist fans I could ever wish for, and you know, it's thanks to those guys and girls that I can actually still do this for a living. I mean, obviously, present situation accepted.
Yeah, we'll get onto that. Don't worry.
I'm sure we'll get onto that at some
Yeah.
point. But up until this year, I've had a career that's kept me going on the road for over 20 years, and it's that, like I say, they're really loyal. They come and support me, and they buy the albums, and they're right behind me. So I really couldn't ask for more.
And do you think it's, if you were advising, to say you were mentoring like a young blues or soul artist or whatever genre, the genre doesn't really matter really, but a young artist or band that want to make a living touring, because it's the best, we can both agree it's one of the best things in the world to make a living doing that. Do you think that's very possible in today's? Because obviously you started 22 years ago. Do you think if you were to offer someone advice today about doing it, what would that advice be? Do you think it would be easier or harder to do in today's climate? No, I don't mean today's very climate with the obvious that we're going to get onto, but social media and YouTube and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's such a different time now. I mean, I started my professional career in '98, and I was fortunate that a couple of the first 2 or 3 songs that I wrote were recorded on a self-financed kind of low-budget album that we just put out locally around the Midlands, and those first original songs got picked up by a record label in Germany that were their main bulk of artists were blues and blues rock.
Right.
And I went out as this young kind of blues rock guitarist, singer-songwriter. And at the time, in the late 90s, early noughties, there wasn't a lot of artists around at my age doing that kind of stuff. It tended to be older generations doing it. I mean, there was 2 other guys of note. There was, in the US, there was a guy called Johnny Lang, and Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and they were both kind of these young kind of blues guys. But certainly over this side of the water, there wasn't that many people doing what I was doing. So it was, and like I say, it's a different times before all this sort of, internet, social media and stuff. So I just got sent on tour as an opening act for a lot of the big American blues acts. Whereas now, certainly in the last 10 or 15 years, there are so many younger people playing blues and blues guitar, male and female, all across Europe and across the US. Whereas 20 years ago, well, certainly I wasn't aware of as many as there are now, but now there is a lot more. So I think it's a lot harder now to maybe get noticed, because you've got to stand out in some way, and like I say, it's a different time, because you've got social media and the internet and that kind of thing. So and it's 20 years on, I mean, even when I was doing it, when I started out, it was blues, but I was sort of went beyond that.
Yeah.
So, and obviously the original electric, I mean, when I say blues, I'm talking about like the 60s electric blues, not the, the Robert Johnson sort of acoustic stuff from the, earlier times.
Like your Muddy Waters and that kind of thing. It's a bit further on than that.
That's your more traditional blues, right? So I was always into the electric sort of like 60s, 70s type electric, raunchy, overdriven guitar type thing. But again, even when I was doing it, it was by a lot of people seen as a bit old hat, and that was in late 90s, early noughties. So now, 20 years later, there's a lot more people doing it, but it's I think it's definitely harder now, because you can't, the whole thing. I mean, I kind of built my career up on just relentless touring, just 250 gigs a year, and just slogging it out and going back to the same venues year on year. And just slowly, you're always on the kind of the way up the hill. And I would say probably around 10 years ago, it seemed to sort of like almost self-perpetuate in a way. It kind of started to work for itself. And, where I started to show up at venues, and there would be, there'd always be a good number of people there. Whereas the first 10 years, it was always a bit kind of hit and miss. So that's how I kind of built my career up. But whereas it's different now because you've got social media and stuff. So
Yeah, but I still think there's something to be said for that kind of, as you put it, relentless touring, and actually very slowly catchy monkey type approach that
yeah,
just gradually builds up. My kind of, I don't know what you think of this, but my kind of rule of thumb when looking to tour is when I do the tour, like take the big band out and do the swing stuff, is if I can get kind of 100 odd people in the venue, 90, 100, that kind of thing, in the
yeah,
venue on the first visit these days, then it's worth going back to, because those 90,
yeah.
100 people, if they all bought one more person each, or even if 50 of them bought one more person each, the gig's
Yeah.
suddenly viable next time round.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot more stuff available to artists to promote themselves and get known quicker.
Mm, mm,
So, like for instance, like say social media, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all that kind of thing, wasn't around 20 years ago.
mm,
So the only way to get seen and get noticed was to just put yourself about, really, go out and gig and try and get on as many support gigs as you could, and just get in front of the biggest audience you could every night.
mm.
And the first couple of years of my touring was literally opening up for a lot of big American acts where I'd be playing to 300 or 400 people a night every night. So that was how I did it. And I think, probably how a lot of artists over the years have done it is just this relentless touring. Whereas now, I think the way the music industry is, it's very much, if you've not made it by the time you do your second album, you get dropped from the label, and it's almost like everything's very instant. Everything has to be instant. We got this new artist and they're really, really big for a year or two, but to maintain that kind of momentum, it's hard. And like I say, the circuit I play on, the blues rock thing, there's definitely a lot more younger artists doing the blues rock thing than there used to be. So I suppose now the market's a little bit more saturated, I guess.
Yeah, and I think also there are a lot more kind of fusing different styles as well. They're not straightforward blues rock, like
Yeah.
what you did. I think there's quite a scene for, and quite an appetite from the kind of gig going public and the record buying public for that fusion of styles now. I think people are less wedded to a genre these days. If you look at a lot of your mainstream artists, they dabble in a lot of different genres, don't they?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
So it's interesting. I mean, I've always thought that the model that you kind of followed, like I say, I think there is something to be said for that. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but did you ever set out to? I wouldn't imagine, having known you for a while and stuff and gig with you and that, you don't seem like the kind of guy who set out for fame and big lights and loads of money. You just want to do what you love for a living and make a
Do you know
decent
what?
enough living.
Yeah, the idea. So my focus for doing this, it's never been to, the whole, I think some people are just desperate to be famous. I've never had that. All I've ever wanted to do is just play music and love what I do.
Mm,
And when I was in my teens, I started gigging when I was 13,
mm,
and the idea to actually make a living from music, it never actually occurred to me.
mm,
I just, as long as I could do gigs, I was happy. And my whole drive throughout this whole time has just been, as long as I can do something I love and I can make a living from it,
mm,
and I don't have to worry about paying the mortgage or whatever,
mm,
then I'm happy. And do you know what? If millions and millions of people hear my stuff, like it and buy it, then great. That's
mm.
great. But it's not the reason I do it. I do it just because it's something I love and I want to share it with people, and hopefully, I can bring some happiness.
Yes. So bring people together in times of crisis. That leads nicely on to the next point. So what do you make of the lockdown time then? Let's talk about, so if you rewind back to March and look at what you've kind of achieved as an artist, it might be creatively or what have you since then. How things look from your point of view? Because it's been a very mixed answer when I've asked that to people on this show.
I would say the first 3 or 4 months of lockdown for me were really good, actually.
Yeah, me
Because
too. Yeah.
I was supposed to be in the studio sort of March, April, right before a really busy touring schedule. So up until lockdown, my feet just didn't touch the ground. I was absolutely knackered. I was low on sleep. I was quite run down. I knew I had to go into the studio and record an album. And then I think I was due to come home for 1 day, pack, and go on a 3-week European tour. So I'd have been dead basically.
Yeah.
And as soon as lockdown happened, suddenly I just felt like, I can actually kick back a bit. I can actually, I can actually get a decent night's sleep. And
Well, you've got young kids as well, haven't you? So,
yeah,
you know,
so it's all that kind of stuff. And obviously over the summer, the weather was amazing. So I kind of just took a bit of a holiday, really. And it was great to spend some time with the kids in the garden, and just not having to stress about, this stuff has to be done like last Thursday.
yeah,
I thought, well, I mean, although I was ready with all of my material to go into the studio, over lockdown, I did, because of the situation, I just felt quite inspired to write a few songs. So I just, I write when I feel the urge to, or I've got something to say or something to write. And I wrote a good few songs over lockdown, and they've actually ended up being recorded for the album.
oh
Although
right, so they've
never
made the
been.
cut last minute sort of thing.
Yeah, because even in March, I'd say I probably had about 20 or so decent songs, and I was trying to whittle it down to, I don't know, 12 or
It's always
13.
hard, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was in the fortunate position where I had more than I needed. But then over lockdown, I wrote probably two or three, which the kind of songs that you just write without thinking about. They were quite instinctive, and I wrote all three of them, each song probably an hour or two from start to finish.
That's great, that, isn't it? When that happens, I absolutely love that. It's not happened to me for a very long time, but when
Yeah,
you
it's
just
one of those
sit
things
down and it just flows and it just happens. They're the
you
best.
can't control it. I've actually tried to reverse engineer the process that goes on in my brain, and I
Good luck
can't.
with that.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll probably trying to figure that out forevermore. But basically, I just wrote these songs, and because we didn't actually start recording until the back end of July, I think it was, I just took them along and played them to the producer and said, "Well, what do you think to these?" He was like, "Oh," I said, "That's kicking." She said, and lyrically, it's so current. It's about as current and relevant that everybody who listens to it lyrically will totally get.
We'll be able to connect with it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the songs is called "Is This Really Happening Now?"
Oh
Which,
Jesus, yeah, yeah,
it's basically, I can't believe what is this. Am I in a dream? Have I just woken up into a dream world, or whatever? What is it? And it's that whole thing of, suddenly lockdown and how people respond to it, and the whole panic buying and all that. The way people are and deal with situations like that, it just kind of really resonated with me. So I kind of wrote that and a couple of others as well. So.
Well, I mean, among our sort of our peers, if you like, sort of fellow artists and musicians, etc. I must admit, I've interviewed quite a few people on here, creative types, and touring people who tour for a living in one form or another, and I've seen a whole range of emotions. I've seen people who are completely down in the dumps, and people who are literally, I'm sat there with them, and they look like completely lost, completely just no expression. And I've seen other people who are actually really upbeat and have used the time wisely. I've seen sometimes that those two emotions in the same person at the same time. There's been a real wide spectrum of feelings about this whole situation in our community, and it's been
Definitely.
a really odd time. I know I've had days where I'm really on it and I'm writing or I'm recording or I'm doing podcasts or whatever, and then days where I haven't got the motivation to do anything. I can't even get
I'll
up
be
off
honest
the
with you.
sofa.
I've kind of been through both ends of the spectrum, really, because like I said, the first, I'd say probably 3 or 4 months, I was good, and then as it went on, I just started to think, it's that whole thing of not having a resolution,
Yeah,
not knowing,
yeah,
it's that whole thing of not knowing, when a thing's going to go back to normal, and they never will go
no,
back to
not
the
completely
normal
normal.
that,
No,
that
no.
we know as before, before all this stuff. So, and again, the whole thing of thinking, well, how am I gonna, how am I gonna live? How am I gonna put food on the table? How am I gonna survive? Because the whole touring thing has come to a complete standstill. Or certainly it was a few months ago, and I was actually thinking, what am I going to do? Because this is all I know. This is all I've ever done.
Yeah, yeah,
And obviously, playing live music in venues, it relies on people being in close proximity
yeah,
for a long
yeah.
period of time. So, it's the same as you. I've had days where I've just felt completely unmotivated and fed up, and not having that buzz from playing live, which it's almost like, I suppose it's like an alcoholic or something that just needs a drink. I just need to go and play to people in real time, not over
No,
over the
I know
internet.
what you're going to say. Yeah, no
Yeah,
no virtual bollocks. Basically, I've had enough of all that live streaming and all that nonsense as well. It's just not the same, is it?
it's not the same. And I mean, I've taken part, and I've done a few
Yeah,
where
I've seen
I've
them.
been
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of, and I thought, well, it's going to be, it's something for me to focus on. It's obviously I'm going to get to play, and again, it's putting something out there that again is just going to take people's minds off the whole situation and just try and just lift the mood. If I just thought if I can help lift people's moods just by 0.5% by me doing, a half-hour set, I'll do it just for the greater good, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah. And
Um,
provide
but
a mental health benefit for people watching and stuff.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
something
yeah,
in that, isn't
yeah,
there?
definitely, yeah.
I mean, do you think? I hate to say this, but do you think the industry could migrate online or partially online at least?
I don't know because I've been watching a lot of bigger artists. I mean, I quite like Sheryl Crow, and I follow
Mm,
her on Instagram, and I know she's been doing some online stuff, and quite a lot of big named acts, big megastars. They're doing this online stuff, and they're doing these proper virtual concerts.
mm.
I really don't know. Um, it's I suppose it's at the moment because we can't play live for the most part. It's the next best thing, I suppose. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, really.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I struggle with it is, we've tried to do it with King Bastards, for example. We've looked at doing the pay-per-view sort of live stream thing, and just people pay £1 or a nominal sort of fee just to trial it and see if people will.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, unless you're a big star, I genuinely don't think the public see much value in it. And if I'm honest, I can't really blame them because a mate of mine, I was playing snooker with him the other day, and he made a really good point. He's not a musician, but he's into his music, and he was saying that if you think about it, you can go on YouTube and for free, at the click of a button, you can watch any great legend that you love.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
That's exactly
you know,
that's exactly what I've thought. Like, why will people pay to watch something online, which is not going to be everyone's doing it from home, and a lot of people that are doing it from home, they're not used to they haven't got the technical know-how.
no. Well, as you
Like,
saw with this podcast at the start.
but again, people haven't got the equipment at home
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
know-how how to set the sound up and get all the visuals right. The bigger artists, yeah, they've got crews of people that are doing it all for them, but
Mm,
artists that are on more than like the grassroots level,
mm.
um, everything you have to do everything yourself, and unless you've got a little bit of studio know-how or you know what you're doing. I mean, I've got a basic knowledge of, I know what I'm doing, to do basic stuff,
To
but
yeah, I'm like that. I can lay things down, and to a point, I can do it.
yeah.
I'm no whiz, but I can do the basics. Yeah.
But I think if I was going to do an online live thing for fans, I would want it. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I would want it to be I would want it to look and sound absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't want to do it because
Mm.
I would just feel like it just, yeah. Why are people going to pay for it if they can just put my name into YouTube and watch any real gig where I'm actually playing on stage with a band in front of a real audience?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Well, let's hope. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom in your camp, is it? I was talking to Andy about the, because I cover his teaching when he's away with you. So, I
All right.
was talking to him about, saying some of the Euro dates are actually still on. So it's not all doom and gloom in your camp,
No, no. I
touring
mean,
wise.
it's not. I mean, so the tour I'm about to do, it was actually booked this time last year
Mm.
because I do a lot of stuff in Germany and Switzerland and Austria and Netherlands and that. The reason I do a lot out there is because I was signed to a German record label for close on 10 years. So a lot of
Oh, right,
uh,
Rough Records, yeah.
yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of my touring predominantly tends to be over the water just because I've got quite a big fan base over there. But so that tour was booked about a year ago, and as is, I suppose, I don't know, not typical, but um, Germany is one step ahead of
Yeah.
the UK in terms of their venues started opening around about August time,
Oh,
back in
right,
July,
okay.
August,
Did they?
and they
Right.
were testing the water,
Yeah.
doing shows where it's a limited audience capacity,
Mm.
social distancing measures, basically keeping everyone safe, but opening the venues in some capacity. So I spoke to a lot of the venues, and they said, "Look, are you still going to do this tour?" And I said, "Well, as long as every venue on the tour wants to do it, then yeah, it's possible we can go ahead. How's it going to work?" And
Mm.
the way it's going to work is like a venue that normally has a audience capacity of like 450, they can
Mm.
have about 120 in.
Right.
so
Okay.
that people can distance. A lot of them are strict seated
Yeah, in bubbles sort of
venues.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've got to wear unless they're actually sat down, they've got to wear a face mask. You've got to
Mm.
sanitize on the way in, on the way out. The band have to stay at arm's length.
Mm.
I mean, one of the venues have actually told me that they think they can only have 3 of us on stage because the stage is not big enough
To
to
social
have all 4.
distance. Yeah.
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 So I was weighing it up and I thought, well, the 2 options I've got, either I sit at home on my ass doing nothing and being miserable because I'm not playing,
Mm.
or I could give it a go out, obviously take all the precautions necessary,
Mm.
make sure the people that come to the venues take precautions, and everyone,
Everyone plays the game basically, isn't it? That's
everyone
what it's
plays their
about.
part. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yep.
the venues want to try and get live music back on its feet in some way. So I thought, well, by going out, it's kind of supporting the venues.
Yeah.
It's giving some, the people that have managed to get tickets, because a lot of the venues, they have sold out pretty quick because, you can only have 100 or 120 people in. It gives some people something to look forward to if they're willing to venture out and come and see us. And also it gets us out on the road and out the dumps and kind of,
Gets you out the house, stops you doing the wife's head in at home.
Yeah, because I think she's. I'm pretty sure she's had enough of me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, she's a big part of your kind of operation, isn't she? She
is
really involved.
Well, yeah. I mean, me and Steph, we've been working together with the music for what would it be? About 6 years now. So she set up. No, sorry, 7 years. She set up our label, Straight Talkin Records, in 2013.
Yeah.
And from then, she basically went full time with the music. So we both live off it 100%.
Yeah.
And she manages me. She coordinates the gigs. She does all the logistics. She does all the headache stuff that I hate being a musician. I mean, you know what it's like. As a musician, you just want to play music, have a good laugh with your mates, and not worry about logistics, money, stress. And she takes all of that headache out of it for me. She thrives in it. She loves it. She's brilliant at it. And it just works really, really well.
And does it, if you don't mind me asking, for how long has it been able to support the 2 of you? Has it been right from the off, or has it taken some building up and then it's only in recent years that it's supported both of you? I'm asking, as they say, I'm asking for a friend. I'm asking for myself really, because I'm thinking about going down this road, with my wife, because she's got that sort of similar skill set, similar kind of head for business.
Right. It's one of those things you don't know until you try. I mean, I was always signed to other labels. So when you go to make an album, the label fronts the money, they put the money up, but essentially it's just like a bank loan, because they want their money back plus a load more interest. And so me and Steph, we were talking about it in the early days we were together, and she just was really interested in how it all works. And to be honest with you, a lot of the questions she was asking me, I couldn't answer because I actually didn't know.
Yeah.
And she just, made it a business to find out how it all works. And she just said to me one day, why don't we just set our own label up? And I said, my initial response was, no way, it's not possible. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people who've tried to set their own label up with distribution deals and stuff, and it's a lot of work. And if you don't understand it, how it all works, then it's a bit of a I mean,
it's a bit of a. It can be. I've seen with a lot of people, it be a big money drainer. It can just can just zap your cash like there's no tomorrow.
But my wife is tenacious, and she's a doer, not a talker, and she's fearless. And she just said, well, look, it would just mean us, getting a loan or whatever and taking on the financial risk. But she said, you've already been going for 15 years. She says, you're established as an artist and you sell records. I was like, right, okay. She said, her thing was, well, if you never try, you'll never know.
It's true.
If we try it and it doesn't work, at least you can, in your old age, you can say, we tried that, we gave it its best shot, but it didn't work. And do you know what? We tried it and it worked.
I got got a straight talking woman, she's gonna give it to you straight. I got a straight talking woman, she's gonna give it to you straight. She'll tell it how it is, and she means every word she says. Some like their women unopinionated, but impartial. It's more complicated, but a straight talking woman is the kind I understand. Bit about no bush now, she'll let you know just where you stand. Alright. Take no jive from no sharpened tongue. She tells it how it is, she gets the job done. A straight talking woman, she knows just where it's at. To fight her corner, you wanna give the best that you got. Oh, I got a straight talking woman. I got a straight talking woman. Straight talking woman, I got a straight talking woman. She tell it how it is, and she means every word she says.
She bought a book, How to Set Up a Record Label, and just did a research and learned all about it. And then we ended up with the same worldwide distribution deal I've had with the labels I've been signed to. So from the consumer point of view, the only difference is the name of the record label. But from our point of view, everything's in-house, and it's kind of run by both of us together.
So. Financially, I guess it's a lot more cost-effective to do it that way. And
it is. It just means you take the risk financially. That if it all falls on its arse, then you've got to deal with that. But
So I guess it's sort of full circle, because you were saying about independently releasing your first album when you were sort of 18. That's what's on your biog anyway. That's where I got that from.
Yeah.
And sort of locally, independently releasing that. Obviously, you're doing a lot more than that now with yours and Steph's label. But do you think there's a value to and benefits to being independent or being your own boss in the music industry rather than trying to go for that major record or any kind of record contract these days? Record deals.
I think it depends what your goal is. It depends why you're doing it. if you're trying to get famous, then yeah, a major label with a lot of credibility
and cash.
Can put you, and cash that can put you on tour and get you on TV and get you straight, get your radio playlisted and all that sort of thing. Yeah, if that's your motive for doing it, then maybe go that route. But my motive has always been just because I love music, and it's as long as I can do it for a living, and the pair of us can live off it, then great. I mean, Steph always said that she wanted to retire by the time she was 30. And although she's not retired, we've got our own label that we kind of both live off, and she works from home, and it's on our own terms. So I tour when I want to tour. We put an album out when I'm ready to write one, and it kind of works in our favour, really. So it's
you're saying about the stuff you hate, the logistics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I did like all that. I did like the buzz of organising the band. You've been in bands that I've organised. You've played bass for bands I've organised and stuff. And
I have, yeah.
I did enjoy it. But now I'm getting to a point where I'm like, hang on a minute. If you're going to do the best you can as an artist and release your best work and perform to your best live, you can't be the manager and the musical director and the label and the marketing.
You can't do it all. It's too much. It's too many heads to wear at the same time.
Yeah. And you wouldn't get that in any other business, would you? You wouldn't get the managing director also running the marketing department and doing the delivery of whatever the service is. And it doesn't happen like that. There's a structure.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll definitely be picking your brains more on that. So another thing I wanted to ask you about, I didn't put it on my list, but it's occurred to me when you were talking about Germany. I know when I was chatting with Andy, when Brexit was being made a mess of, shall we say, it was it came up. Obviously you came up in conversation because, like you said, your career is predominantly your touring audience, anyways, predominantly on the continent. So. How's that? How do you think that's going to shape up? Is it going to affect things either way? Or?
I don't know. Do you know what? I think it's just. If I'm honest, I'm trying not to think about it because.
Oh, sorry.
No. It's fine because I can't bury my head in the sand forever.
Yeah.
But we've got all this coronavirus stuff going on, and then that's almost like just lurking in the background. That once we might have got a handle on that, then there's by the way, there's Brexit.
Yeah.
So it's. I think for the touring musician, it's it's really not good news, is it? I mean, let's be honest.
I've had a few musicians on here say, to just say, like, well, hang on a minute, yeah, COVID, I know that's a killer, but for our industry. But after that, we've got the tiny thing of Brexit to negotiate, and that's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And I actually saw a friend of mine. They were doing they were putting together a European tour, which has obviously all been pulled. But he put together a list of what they're going to have to do the same tour again post Brexit in terms of extra costs and extra admin, and it's absolutely ridiculous. It's arguably prohibitive for bands unless you're of a certain level and you can afford to work permits and all that kind of stuff.
It's gonna cripple so many touring setups that with all the extra costs, it's just going to be not viable to even do the tour. And it's like if the whole coronavirus thing is not enough to put people out of business in not just in the music industry but in so many different industries, then if coronavirus doesn't finish off musicians, I think Brexit is kind of lurking in the background to have a go as well. So it's who knows? I mean, I think all we can really do is just try and stay positive and roll with the punches. And do you know what? It is what it is. It's going to happen. So we just have to just deal with it.
Yeah, and I think also something that the lockdown's taught me is the need to, not taught me, but reinforced has been the need to diversify. And I know you've done that a bit as well in terms of getting involved in writing with other people. We both worked not together yet, but separately with HQ Familia Records in town. Doing bits and bobs with, they've got some fantastic artists there and stuff. So getting involved purely as a writer or, like I'm doing this, the podcasts and the radio stuff. And I know you do some teaching in like a sort of summer camp type form, don't you, as well? Jono's mentioned that to me in the past, like a school kind of thing over a weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we've been running them again with Steph. She kind of masterminds the whole thing. But yeah, we do like guitar workshops. It's like a weekend workshop where we normally have 25 people at a residential hotel, and we have a evening jam session. I sort of teach in a workshop sort of style during the day, and then obviously because of coronavirus, we haven't been able to do that. So over the summer I've been doing quite a lot of this online teaching with Zoom, because I've got quite a lot of students that I've obviously worked with over the years. So that kept me busy and also helped pay the mortgage.
Well, it does. It does.
You
Yeah.
got to do something.
Yeah, of course you have. Yeah, of course you have. And I mean, there's been obviously the government support, which we're actually talking on the day where there's been an announcement regarding that for self-employed people, and it looks pretty grim, to be honest. And there was nothing in there there was no sector-specific stuff in there anyway for any particular sector, but especially still nothing for the arts. And I'm thinking, when are you going to do something? Are you going to do something? You know what I mean? It's
Exactly,
in trouble. It's really in trouble.
But what do you do? I mean, like I say, in terms of diversifying, I've, as well as playing, I mean, normally when I go out and play gigs, I'm normally with a band 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
But I do also do solo gigs where I actually go out and just do a whole night on my own.
Yeah.
And I actually did my first gig since March, the weekend before last in Germany. I actually flew out to Germany and did an open air festival.
Oh wow! Was that all COVID safe and socially distant? Blah,
yeah,
blah, blah,
that was that was all COVID safe. Everybody, although it was outdoors, the seating arrangement was pairs of seats, and in between each pair of seats was like 1.5 meters or 2 meters. And although it's in a big field, I think they had 150 people max. They normally have 700 or 800, so it was really, really down. Everybody was wearing face masks. There was hand gel everywhere.
Slightly strange experience, I should imagine, for you to perform in that environment.
But do you know what? People were just chomping at the bit to just have a good time and hear some live music. And I mean, I didn't want it to end. I really didn't. It was, I played solo. I did one of my solo sets, and then I played a second day at the same festival with a friend of mine. We did like a duo thing.
Oh, nice.
But again, I've got that to, which is, I can use if I need to. If I can't afford to take a band out, then I can still go out and perform on my own.
Yeah, I think it's important to have. I mean, I know I've got everything from like just me and a piano player going out, or me and a guitarist, or me on my own with in my case backing tracks, because I don't really play a chord instrument well enough. But everything from that right up to a 20-piece band. You know what I mean? So I think it's important, especially at the minute, to be able to take out the smallest setup you possibly can. Really.
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
So what's next then? Let's talk positive. What's next in terms of releases then? Where this album that you've pretty much got in the bag, is that right? And when you're looking to release that?
Well, I'm about halfway through it. We've done all the main music stuff. All the guitars are done now, bass and drums. I just need to do all the vocals, add some keys, tambourine, whatever, and then it needs mixing and mastering and all that. So I'd say we're about halfway through, but that's not going to be released until well into next year, because my last album came out, and it was actually 4 years ago. Yeah,
2016, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a couple of reasons it's taken me that long between the albums, but what I don't want to do is just put the album out just as soon as it's ready, because without a tour, I don't want to release it online, because I think it'll just get lost in the ether.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the thing is, with social media, what's in the news and what everyone's talking about on the Monday, by the time it gets to Wednesday, people have forgotten about it because something else has come along. So
without a tour to accompany it, you've got to be, here's the album, here's the tour, like less than a week later, here's the poster, you can come and see the album being performed, tunes from the album and your old favourites and all that kind of stuff. You can come and see those perform live at these venues on these dates. I think it's essential in this day and age, really.
Well, yeah, I don't want to miss the boat with it, and I've put so much effort into this album, and I'm kind of really proud of what I've written, and and I want as many people to hear it as possible. And so what I don't want to do is, like, all that time and effort and passion I've put into it, just release it online, and then it's people are talking about it for maybe a week or two, and then something else happens and it's forgotten about, because once you release something, you can't re-release it later and say, oh, well, nobody really noticed this when I released it before, so I'm going to re-release it.
Yeah, I don't rather that. Yeah,
I'd rather just wait for the right time where I've got a tour, we can put a proper marketing plan together, and so it's going to be next year, sort of middle of next year, I would have thought.
And can you see yourself getting more involved in work outside of being I guess outside of being Aynsley Lister, the artist. So, for instance, playing bass like you have done with me, and doing writing with with other artists and that kind of thing. Can you see yourself going a bit more
definitely.
down that route?
I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, all I've really done for the last 22 years is my own thing, which I love, and I'm very fortunate. And I realise that to be able to do my own thing, and there's an audience out there for it, and it gives me a living. But I also really like doing other stuff, like you say, playing the bass in your funk soul bands.
I could tell you enjoyed that. Yeah.
I just like doing stuff where I'm not always at the front, and it's a different. Obviously, playing bass is a completely different head to playing lead blues lead guitar, or fronting a band, or and again, doing some co-writing and some stuff with a couple of the artists from HQ. That's been really, really good fun. So yeah, to be honest with you, I like to do different things because variety is it's good, isn't it?
Spice of life. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so anything music related, I'm up for anything really, as long as it's good.
Yeah.
Late at night and I'm dreaming, nothing else that I'm seeing. Now you're here and you're teasing me again. Lately, boy, I've been thinking about us, ooh, it's appealing. But now I see that you're winning at the game. I know you don't want me really, just a toy for you to pass the time. While you're sitting there complaining, boy, just read my lips, they're saying, why? Boy, you have me completely, mind, my soul and my body. Yes, it's true, I am falling like the rain. Take me back to whenever, somewhere we were together. Not like when we're fighting like today. I know, we may not see tomorrow, not when we can barely see today. I know, we cannot live and love no more, but hold me like we'll never love again, 'cause I'll never love again, 'cause I'll never love again. No, I'll never love again.
I'll never forget from that funk soul gig. It was a good gig, wasn't it? I really enjoyed it. And,
It was really, really good. Yeah.
And I remember the only tune we'd not really. It was the most complex, and we didn't, because it was already an event in full flow and everything else, and they'd already had the PA set up. We didn't run through any of it. It was me and Mrs. Jones, and I know that you and Andy had gone to great lengths to learn it. And me having too many heads on, like we were talking about earlier, I'd forgotten to tell Dave, the drummer, that we were doing it, and that we were doing the Bublé arrangement with the big band and all the big stops and all that kind of thing. So it was so funny. I'm singing this big emotional bit at the end, and really going for it. And then I could hear you guys behind me, and Andy just going, "Wait, Dave, wait now!" like that. And he was just like talking you all through this really, like, it's an arrangement that you have to know or have written out in front of you. You have to know it like the back of your hand or have it charted. And bless him, Dave, I think he missed one of the hits, which was pretty good going. I know a lot of drummers who would have crumbled under that circumstance.
Yeah, he's a great drummer to play with, because he's so definite about, if he's going to stop, if he's going to do a fill. He's not all kind of airy fairy. He's like, he hits the drums.
He's solid, isn't he? Yeah,
he's got real conviction when he plays. But he's a great. Obviously, playing bass on that gig, it was a totally different thing for me. Obviously, normally I play guitar, but he was. I can't think of a better drummer that I could have done that gig with. He was fantastic.
Yeah, he's a natural leader. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I think makes a great drummer, is somebody who. The big thing I love is when, like, if I'm out with the swing band or whatever, and he doesn't wait around. So many drummers will go, "Okay, everyone ready?" And they're looking around for ages. And if you're the singer at the front, you're thinking, "It's a bit awkward here, mate. Can you start the song?"
Yeah.
And Dave just goes, "Here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4." And I've seen people look at him like, "Oh, well, I weren't ready." And he just shrugs. He's like, "Well, if you're not going to pay attention and go with me, I'll just go." And he's got that leadership quality about him. You've got to be on your toes with him, So it's cool. So, well, thank you very much, Aynsley, for your time. Really appreciate it. I guess just a quick plug of all your social media, where people can find you and that kind of thing. If you could just give that quickly, so people can keep up to date with this new album release, as and when it comes.
Okay. So I am on Facebook, and my name is Aynsley Lister, but I'll spell that for you, because the spelling of my name is not as you would expect.
No, it's not. I tried searching earlier. It's not.
Yeah. It's AYNSLEY. So it's Aynsley as it sounds. So it's not AI, it's AY. Lister, Aynsley Lister. And then I'm on Instagram as Aynsley Lister, Twitter. What else am I on?
YouTube.
YouTube. Basically, if you put my name into Google, it brings everything. I think it's all the first 4 or 5 things it brings up are all me. So it's.
And I'll add your website in there as well. It's Aynsley, because I've got it in front of me. It's aynsleylister.co.uk. There you go.
Sure is. Yeah.
So, well, thanks very much for your time, Aynsley. Really good to chat, and I'll definitely be keeping in touch.
Nice one. All right. Cheers, Gareth.
Excellent. Nice one. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode of the show. My guest was Mr. Aynsley Lister, and I'd like to sincerely thank Aynsley for his time. It was a real good eye-opener into how to be self-sufficient as a touring artist, and also interesting to talk about predictions for the future. If you like what you're hearing, please do follow, like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast fix. There's a whole 2 seasons you can catch up on as well, and there's weekly episodes coming out every Sunday. You can also keep in touch with us via social media, so it's Gareth John Music on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, or if you'd like to reach out to me directly, it's garethrdjohn@gmail.com. If you'd like to suggest any guests, any feedback on the episodes, that would be more than welcome. And talking of feedback on the episodes, if you do take 2 seconds to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, that would be much appreciated. I'm going to play the show out now with one of my favourite Aynsley Lister songs. It's from his 2013 release entitled Home, and it's called Broke. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Everybody talks about what the future holds in the papers and on the TV, news on the radio, and the state we're in. Hard to know what we're heading for. Still we say we're trying, 'cause there's nothing left anymore. Money's getting harder now to make it. Nobody can afford to let it go. It has to be what you have got to take it. Everybody wanna know Where did the money go? When a million shattered pieces is all that remains.